Yeah, so the Hawk was the
Archie,
first con.
we're
Yeah, go ahead.
we're live, buddy.
Oh,
50 seconds.
You know what it is. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Yeah.
10 seconds.
Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Yeah. You know what it is. Everything I do it big. Yeah. Screaming that.
oh yeah, check this out.
Hey, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Test Zone. The Test Zone, sponsored by our sponsors, Test Squadron. And I am here today with my buddy, Archie Falcon. What's up, Arch?
Hey, hi Griffin.
How you doing, man? Last time we were together, you weren't feeling so good. You were a little under the weather, right?
I am 100% better now.
Looking better, looking good, looking good. As usual, you're dressed up, all ready to go for Star Citizen, I see.
Yes, I am.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And today, we've also got not only Archie here, but our good friend Cosmic Trader. Cosmic!
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Test Zone.
Now, this week, Cosmic's the one who doesn't sound 100%, right, Archie? I don't know.
Yeah, he sounds a little down there.
Yeah,
Hey, Cosmic, this is for you. Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, but I'll be all right. No problem.
And yeah, once we start talking about Star Citizen, he's going to be like Superman. It's like pull his shirt open, the big SC is underneath it, and all of a sudden he won't sound so down. So he'll get pretty excited once we get into our subject today. Good morning to everybody who's here today. Red, we see you here. Debris, we see you here. Indian Feather, thanks for stopping by. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. And anybody else who's here today. We got a really cool show today. We're all really smiling and excited because, as you guys know, this last week was our anniversary week. 5th year anniversary, right? This whole Star Citizen thing got announced back in 2012, and we had 7 days. Was it 7 or 8 days? 8 days, right? 8 days of anniversary? Yeah, 8 days of the anniversary. We had broadcasts every day from Sandy and Chris, and we got to see each of the manufacturers talk about certain things about their ships. What did you guys think about the anniversary shows this week? What did you think? It was a different format. What did you guys think?
Sandy and Chris, they did an excellent job on this every day, talking about the ships that they want to put on sale.
Yep. Yeah, I like the fact that Chris did the little history, on each manufacturer beforehand, which was kind of nice.
I agree with Archie. They did a fantastic job. I also want to give a little praise and shout out to Disco Lando. I thought he hosted that very well.
Yeah.
A little humor in it and did real good.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and it was very, very informative, each one with the devs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
very briefly, if I may, the Indian Feather asked about the cargo of the Taurus. The cargo capacity will be exactly the same. It's just the size of the boxes change.
All right, there you go. I definitely appreciate what Disco did this time as well. The transitions were good. They brought the developers in, which was, and the way they did it was done very, very well. What did you think about the particular ships that they highlighted? Because we got some updates, right, on some of the concept ships.
Yes.
Which one? Which of the concept ships was the one that probably stood out the most to you?
The first one was the
No, not the first one. I want to know which one to you stood out. Which one did you like the most? Is what I'm asking.
the hammerhead.
Ah, okay, the hammerhead. Okay, all right, cool. Cosmic, what about you? Out of all the concepts, and I mean, all of the ones that they talked about, the ones that are in development, everything. Was there one in particular that stood out to you?
Well, yeah, I mean, good heavens, the hammerhead, baby. The guns on that thing are awesome.
Okay.
The Hawk also, though. I like that little Hawk. I think that's a nice ship. But the hammerhead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was impressed with what they got to show us on the Javelin. That really kind of blew me away. I mean, we've always known it's the granddaddy of the ships, or grandmother, whichever way you want to look at it. But I was really impressed when they started talking about the design on it, and particularly the fact that it was very expensive to operate, very expensive to purchase, and very expensive if you lose it. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Oh yeah.
And how many of those?
The developer got lost.
Yeah. He said he even got lost walking around on the thing. Right? They had to think about how they were designing it. I think there were was there 20 javelins that were sold? Was that the count? I think 10 that were sold on War Bond and 10 sold the other way.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think it was, or something like 20 of them. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah, I agree, Feather. What did you guys think about Chris's singing the Christmas song at the end of every episode with Sandy?
That was so funny.
Indian Feather says they could have.
He sings better than me.
Yeah, Sandy was okay. She was carrying Chris. I mean, they were having fun with it. It was fine, but it was like, okay, don't quit your day job, Chris. Definitely, don't go into entertainment. It was crazy. It was crazy. But yeah,
We all got lost.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, it was great to see Chris and Sandy. Last year, I think we had the animations, right? We had the Top Gear kind of thing going on where they covered each manufacturer. But this year, it was nice to hear from the devs, get the breakdown on the timeline of how they do stuff in the pipeline, rather, which was also pretty cool. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. At least Cosmic is. So
yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys a question real quick. Archie, what was it that drew you to Star Citizen? We never really talked about that. How did you even get interested? I mean, we were all probably in other games before, but how did you end up finding about Star Citizen in particular?
There was a few reasons. The one that really caught my eye was the commercial for the freelancer. When I saw that commercial, I tell you that sold me. That was it.
Okay, it was the commercial. Awesome. Everybody knows that commercial. It's one of the more popular commercials too. What about you, Cosmic? How did you get into it?
Well, back in back in the early time there, 2010, 2012 and all that, I used to check for new space sims about every 3 or 4 months or so. Go up and do a search, and for some reason, I got a little lazy and didn't do that for a while. And long about July of 2013, I did the search, and it popped up with this thing called Star Citizen, and I saw the words Chris and Aaron Roberts.
Mm-hmm.
Within 10 minutes, I was a backer.
Wow, okay.
So July of 2013, I came in, but I would have done it the first time I ever saw it because I've played their games, and I knew what to expect. So, yeah, I couldn't get into it fast enough.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. Were you a little nervous? I mean, Chris had been away from games for a while. He had actually went into the movie industry and had done films and stuff. And even though his brother Aaron was still doing games, he had been away from it a little bit. Were you a little nervous about the whole project? Because it was pretty ambitious, right?
Well, it was ambitious, but I watched the trailer that they made back then, the original with the Bengal carrier and all that. And I liked what his vision was. I saw the Hornet sitting there. I saw him running around, climbing in it, and I knew all this would be in the game eventually. It was just a matter of, getting it kick-started, getting it up and running and doing that. And I've just never looked back.
Okay, awesome. I ended up finding out about it because at the time I was deeply playing Eve Online, and I was getting a
Same
little,
here.
yeah, I was getting frustrated with Eve. I had been in it for like maybe 6 years, roughly, maybe, but I was in a very small org. Didn't really want to get into a really gigantic org, at least on at least an Eve scale, gigantic. But I was really getting frustrated. The balance in the game didn't really meet me the way I thought it would. Even though they advertised various careers in the game, if no matter what you had to do, and I know there's always an argument about this, and I know somebody's going to probably say I'm a Care Bear, but there's always this issue of if you want to do some type of career, like let's say you just want to be an explorer, right, and you want to go out and find things and report back things. There was always a dynamic of PvP was always going to be 50% of what you did. I didn't mind having to defend myself or whatever, but I guess I would have wanted to feel like maybe 30% of the time when I go out. But it was like 70% of the time, if I wanted to do something, I had to always engage in PvP. And whatever I wanted to do, I couldn't get to doing it because I was tied up doing PvP. I was tied up defending my org all the time. When I wanted to go out and explore and do things, even if I just wanted to do mining, I couldn't go do mining.
You must
it
have
was crazy.
been in 0-0.
I was everywhere. I was in wormholes. I tried to find all types of ways, but I just got frustrated. So anyway, a friend of mine who I've got to say, I've got to thank her. She was the coolest person in the world. She happened to say to me, "Have you heard about this game called Star Citizen?" She didn't mention Chris Roberts, but she did mention Star Citizen, and I flipped over to it. And Sinistry, thank you for that. And since then, I got involved and got engaged and got hooked into it. So that's my long story. But anyway,
I want to clarify about mine for those
Sure.
those people that weren't around back in those days, 2012, 2013. When I first heard about it, there really wasn't any talk about Star Citizen. It was Squadron 42 that was dreamed and planned. And I knew Aaron Roberts and them had made, the freelancers and all that, the privateers, the wing commanders, and I knew that's what it was going to be. And I loved all those games. Then as the Kickstarter going, for those who don't know about it, that's what was planned, Squadron 42. And then the Kickstarter started to come on, and Chris made an incredible amount of money in the first few weeks. And that's when people started asking about more exploration and mining and all that. And Chris told us at that time that he could make another game and he could give us a bare bones basic system starting out 20 systems, like that, if he had $22 million. And then from there on, he could develop it further and further and on and on. That's where Star Citizen came in. That's what we wanted. And so $180 million later, here we are.
Yeah, absolutely. And interestingly enough, those two things, even though sometimes I think we forget about it, they're intertwined. Squadron 42 and Star Citizen. There's been a lot of frustration as to why Squadron 42 has not come out, but the two are walking hand in hand in development. And so Chris wants to be able to put out a game that it is optimum in its delivery. And I know a lot of people say, well, they could have put out 42 by now and just kept working on Star Citizen. But because of the engine design and development, they are hand in hand. So I think we definitely will see 42 come out.
What a bargain for $60.
Oh, absolutely. 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 So anyway, listen, guys, we are going to go to a very quick commercial, and then we're going to come back, and Archie is going to kick us off talking about, as both he and Cosmic talked about, the two new concept ships that were announced this week, the Anvil Hawk and the Aegis Hammerhead. So Archie, you're going to be ready for that, right?
I am ready.
Awesome. Okay, so let's take this quick commercial, and then we'll be right back, guys. Okay, we all remember Disco's great fall there. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about 3.0 before we go into Archie, because I forgot we did need to talk about that a little bit. How did you guys feel about the release of 3.0? Was it anticipated, but it was unexpected when it came out, right?
It was indeed, yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Archie. You go ahead, pick it up.
I can't talk about the past, but yeah, we were surprised that it came out. With like expected, with some problems, but that's the name of the nature of the process, PTU.
Were you
We had
surprised that they released it when they did?
no, it was on schedule.
Oh, okay. Oh, you had a schedule nobody else had, evidently. I I didn't know it was going to come out that day.
I got to tell you honestly that it was a shock that it came out that night in PTU. But as soon as it came out, within minutes, we understood why it came out.
Mm,
You know, and it was to keep the servers just absolutely loaded down and maxed
mhm.
so they could find a lot of the really bad bugs and get them out of there. But we had no prior warning whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's why it took us all by surprise. But we're happy that it's out in PTU. We're happy that it's streamed to YouTube. People can get in and play, even with the bugs and stuff, and get to experience it.
Right. I know that we knew for a few weeks that Ivacati had it, and I think there were all types of forecasts that isn't going to come out before the end of the year. We probably won't see it until February. There was a lot of guessing. After Ivacati, it was going to go out to subscribers and concierge, and a lot of people figured maybe Christmas, maybe before the end of the year. I was taken back by it. I think we had just gotten an email, this new email thing that they're sending out, letters from the chairman. The Chairman's Club, and they had stated to us that by, I think, the third week in December, it was their intention, I think December 22nd, it's their intention to have 3.0 on the public server. And so people got that and were like, okay, well, it'll probably be around Christmas. But lo and behold, they released it to concierge and subscribers the day before Thanksgiving, which I think was, from a marketing standpoint, incredibly good, because they had 4 days of subscribers and concierge members and Ivacati on the servers. They're all off work. Most people in the States were off work because of Thanksgiving. So they had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to, like you said, Cosmic, hit the servers and hit them hard, which is what they did. We saw frame rates at 2 and 3, which we could talk about too. But, it was smart. And then from a marketing standpoint, economy-wise, it re-energized either new people who were interested in it, who were hearing about it, or the old people who had been backers. And so we went into anniversary week. There were a lot of people who went back to their passion of saying, hey, I want to support the game. There's a ship I always wanted to get. I can get it now. So even with the bugs, I think people were still pumped up. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think so. And I gotta say right now, I got a question for everybody that's here in the chat. Let us know the answer to this, please. As bugged as all this is, and you're getting your enthusiasm back, I think that a good demonstration of why things are worth waiting for, there can be nobody that is not in love with the Delta Patcher by now.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. The Delta Patcher has just changed everything. I know we were kind of talking about Chris and them saying that it was going to have a big impact on the game. Instead of us getting these updates once every 3 months or 6 months or once a year.
Instead of taking 4 to 6 hours to download 30-some gigs every time.
Right.
You run out of your monthly allotment or whatever.
Yeah, now it's 2 minutes.
Yeah.
For me, it's 2 minutes.
Yeah. We had heard that Ivacati were getting updates sometimes more, twice, maybe even 3 times a day, which before wouldn't happen very much. And even with us, we've been playing the game, and it's like we'll get an update. We've gotten them once a day, once every couple of days. So that's definitely changed dramatically on the fixes on the game, which is really great. I mean, it's
takes
important.
Me now less than 5 minutes to get the complete update and be able to launch into a game now.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
It's incredible, that Delta Patcher.
That's awesome. Hey guys, some of the pictures you guys are seeing are pictures that we took in game. There's a variety of pictures there. Some of them are in space and orbit. Some of them are on Port Olisar. Some of them are on Daymar. But these are the pictures and images that we were able to get. I think I've only been on the server I think I've only flown in space maybe 5 times total so far. I've done some tickets and stuff on things I did, but I spent time bumping around in Olisar, time messing around in the hangar. But I will say this:
you did your first landing.
I was about to say, a day before yesterday, I did my first landing on Daymar.
Well, congratulations!
Yeah, and it was so cool. I mean, it was. I was a little nervous doing it because, of course, there's no instruction manual and you just got to kind of wing it and figure out how to get there. But Cosmic was online with me and Archie at the time when I did it, and I landed, I got out, I walked around. In fact, the pictures you see on Daymar there, and you see the what we call the space pumpkins, right? The busted up looking planets, the plants that are down there. There's fauna on that planet. The sound effects, the visuals, it was just amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So if you guys haven't done it, make sure you get out there, fly to one of those moons, just get an opportunity to look around, take some screenshots for yourself, use those screenshots to tell people about Star Citizen, because it's really, really awesome.
On the screen right now, you'll see a picture that I took of me, and that's the new Explorer spacesuit.
Yeah.
That's cool. That is cool. Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was a lot of fun. So anyway, let's go ahead and jump on, guys. We were talking about those concept ships earlier. Archie, let's give it to you. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about the Anvil Hawk?
Okay. Well, the Anvil Hawk, Anvil. It's a small fighter, and it's designed for anti-piracy because it has a EMP blast.
Are you thinking about the Hawk, or are you thinking about the Raven?
The Hawk.
Oh, okay. You sure?
Let's see.
Yes.
Okay, he's right. Okay.
The Hawk is a bounty hunter, and it's got a really nice circular EMP thing on top.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
it has let's see, 2 and 3, 6. It has 6 weapons.
And it's used for bounty hunting, right? So I mean, how can people use this for bounty hunting? Is there anything special about it?
The EMP, it just disables the and it's because it's small. You can't see it well in the radar.
And I think Archie's forgetting about the confinement cells in the interior, because you get paid more if you bring them back alive.
Right.
Yes.
I think when he mentioned piracy earlier, that's what threw me off. But he really meant for smuggling is probably what you meant, right, Archie? I'm not smuggling. Bounty hunting.
Yeah. Yes. It complements this ship. It complements the Cutlass Blue, the bounty hunter.
Mm-hmm. And the difference is what the Cutlass Blue can hold. Is it 6 people? I think. Is it 4 or 6 people it has in it currently?
Let's see, 3 and 3, 6.
So it's 6, right? Currently,
we haven't seen the new Cutlass Blue yet.
Yeah, the new design. It may change. That's true.
Yeah.
Also, if I may, since this is in the PTU now in public, for those who are not in the PTU, the people that own this and have been testing that EMP, it is working really well. It actually, now this particular ship is the first one. They put a bubble around the ship when the EMP charges up, so that when they fire the EMP, the Hawk does not get affected by it. Mm-hmm. This will be incorporated on the other EMP ships like the Vanguards and stuff eventually. Yeah. But the people testing it are really praising it. It's really working well.
Right. And the ship I was saying, the ship we're talking about that they're testing it on is the Raven, because the Hawk is not out yet. So I'm going to make sure that's clear, guys. No, it's okay. Yeah, but right, it'll be the same. Right, exactly. So we were talking about this the other day because I asked both Archie and Cosmic if either of them had a chance to fly the Raven, and because I didn't have one, and I thought maybe it was just my account, but they said that only the people who received the new Intel card are able to fly it on the PTU. So unfortunately, we can't tell you guys because we've flown it. We can just tell you what we've heard about it, and people seem to really, really like the Raven a lot.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
And they're really excited about the way the EMP is now working.
Yeah. Very cool. I heard
rumor being sold.
Oh yeah, definitely. But it's funny, getting those cards is hard. I tried to get one a couple weeks ago, and I had a notification pop up on Newegg saying the card was available. I went back like a couple hours later. They were sold out. They were gone. The 240 ones or 280, whatever size they are, those disappear like hotcakes very quickly.
Yeah.
I do like, and Archie, one of the things I do want to talk about, Cosmic talked about, was the confinement system. I know people have been kind of curious about this whole, how are people, NPCs or characters or avatars, going to be captured, and where will they go afterward? Cosmic, correct me if I'm wrong. When they put out the blue, the Cutlass Blue, wasn't one of a couple of the items that were given for the original a stun baton and some handcuffs, something like that?
Yeah, they're called the advocacy tools, and I believe you can go up on the Voyager store and buy them. They were like $5 back in the day because I have a set. You
Yes,
get a
me too.
stun baton and you get a set of these like handcuffs, high-tech handcuffs to restrain the person. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, okay. Do either of you guys know whether or not when they're doing bounty hunting, will NPCs be captured? I mean, are we delivering them to some detention center, or how are we
Yes.
turning them in?
Yes, you can capture any criminal, whether it's NPC or player. And once you capture them, if you capture them and don't kill them, you'll get more money. You take them to the nearest planet or station that you can get to, and you turn them over to the security. When you go through that little custom security thing, you just turn them in right there, and you get paid immediately. Then that guy, because he's restrained, he'll basically be kind of like asleep, like respawning in. When he respawns in, he or she, they will respawn in a prison.
Yep.
Because for those who don't know, one of the systems out there has a very large UEE prison in it. And you will spawn inside of that prison. And there'll be 3 ways to get out of it. You can either put your time in breaking rocks, as Chris Roberts calls it, or your buddies can try to break you out, or you can bribe a guard. Those are the 3 ways to get out. So the cheapest way and the safest way is to put in your time breaking rocks and just do your time. But that's what happens to the prisoners.
Okay.
And you cannot play the game until you're out of that prison.
Wow.
Ooh.
Archie, I got to ask the question. Did you
Yeah.
buy a hawk?
I ended up buying 4 because
Oh, I can't wait to hear this rationale. Okay, you bought 4 because.
okay. One is going to assist my Cutlass Blue, my partner Dreglam. He's a space marshal.
Okay.
The other one is going to help in my planetary 3D printer.
Okay.
I call it.
Okay.
And the other 2 are going to go somewhere else on my other fleet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you've already got it set up. Okay, you got it all set up already. Okay, cool. All right. Sounds awesome. Okay, so look, let's talk about the next ship, right? The next one that a lot of people were excited about, the Hammerhead.
The gunship. It's a large gunship, a little shorter than the Polaris. It's awesome because it has 6 quads. Each turret has 4 guns.
Okay.
So that's what, 24 guns.
Okay.
And they're size 4. Let's see, size. So yes, size 4, and it has 3 missile racks.
Okay. Now I heard that there's up to 32 missiles on this ship. Is that about right? Sound about right?
8 per rack.
Yeah, 8 per rack. Was 8 or
Total
24?
4 racks. It says
Yeah, 30.
here.
Okay, yeah, so 32. Yeah.
Yes.
So what would a ship like this be good for, Arch?
Escort. I tell you, it's a perfect escort ship for anybody that has a convoy of, let's say, 2 or 3 or 4, as many haulers, like the Haul series.
Okay.
It's a good a ship that complements the fleet with, let's say, a couple of capital ships and
Okay. So now there's some.
This is theory crafting now,
Well, yeah, but I mean, based upon it, but there's some people who, at least from what I heard some people who were a little salty about the ship coming out because they kind of felt it was in competition with the Polaris, and some people even felt it was more powerful than the Polaris.
No, it's not. In my opinion, the Polaris is is it the Corvette class?
Yeah, it's Corvette. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Corvette class, and that is a small capital ship, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a missile boat. The Polaris it's a torpedo boat.
Okay.
And it has a It has the Polaris has you can store a fighter inside of it.
Okay. So it's a
And
different type of animal.
155 meters long, where the Hammerhead is 100.
Okay. Okay. Now there was something interesting about this ship. I don't know if you guys noticed this. Did you guys notice where the cockpit was on this ship?
It's underneath.
Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, it depends, because it throws off the enemy, unless you know where the cockpit is. Or the bridge.
What about what about in case you have to know where your enemy is? What if your enemy's above you?
Oh, that's where there has 2 unmanned turrets, one on the top and one on the back. So that unmanned turret on the top, it's going to take care of that side of the ship.
You hope.
Plus the 2. Well, the 4 turrets on each side. There's 2 turrets on each side. They rotate 180 degrees.
So here's my point. Can you guys tell me why they would create a negative element about a ship? Why didn't they put the cockpit right in the front middle, give them a 190-degree view, or 200-degree view? Why would they put it underneath? Anybody got any ideas?
For landing.
Yeah, they could have put it in the front and had it landing. See, I'm a strong believer that every ship in this game has a weakness.
There's a purpose, yes.
And the weakness has a purpose to it. It's not a weakness and a deficit. I think that Archie was hitting on a good point. The people in the other turrets have a better field of view, and it forces all of the players to play together, so that people don't play independent. If your pilot is underneath and can't see what's above him, he has to rely on or she has to rely on the eyes and ears of the people in the turrets to tell them, we've got enemies coming from 12 o'clock. We've got enemies coming from this direction. And it forces players to play together. And I'm saying this because I keep hearing this thing about different ships having these negatives to them, and people keep wanting ships to have everything in them 100% right. The ship that does everything. Right.
There's always a weakness of each ship.
Exactly, and I think it's deliberate. I don't think it's by mistakes in design. I think that they're doing certain things in these ships. If you guys think back when the mist ships came out and they narrowed the view from looking outside the windows, right? All of a sudden now you've got to rely on the guy up in your turret or other areas to tell you where things are. I think there's a forcing that they want us to play together. And if not, and this is guaranteed, you watch how people want to play the game. People want to get a ship that I can get in my ship and I can do. Not I can get in my ship with my friends and we can do. I think that there's a changing of the mentality that Chris wants to have, because Cosmic, you mentioned this the other day. He wants to create a game that is community, where people are playing together, and not that you can't do some things by yourself. You can, but I think he's trying to deliberately push the game in a certain direction.
There's no iron team.
Also, I've been reading chat, and I notice Ops Chief has mentioned something that is, this is a good comparison with the Polaris. The Hammerhead is actually designed for fighting smaller ships, really, whereas the Polaris is more of attacking the other big capital ships,
right,
so to speak. Now, obviously the Hammerhead can help with that, but with all those massive guns, that's getting rid of all those smaller ships, the glaives, the scythe, and that type of thing, while clearing a path to get that big Polaris in there and just blow up the king ships and stuff. That's the difference that I see as well.
Good point.
Also, one of the things that occurred to me about the Hammerhead, for those of you who own the, the Pioneer, it needs protected. Your settlement needs protected. You had something like this. It's a 7-man crew. You set it on the planet or moon, wherever, and you just leave it there. It doesn't cost anything. And when you come under attack, all of you that are working over there at building modules, you just bop on over, jump on this thing, get out of the atmosphere and kill the enemy, and then go back down and build your settlement again. Make a great little defensive system, I think.
I'm interested in this ship, though, because you mentioned earlier about it being definitely something that could escort the larger ships, Arch. I'm curious, though. This is a big ship. In an atmospheric flight, I'm curious as to how it's going to handle. As far as, because it's obviously, at least I don't think it is, designed for speed and maneuverability. I
No.
think it's one of those ships that when you see this thing coming, you realize you only got a few seconds before you need to get out of there, because once this thing gets within range, you're in trouble. You
Oh,
know.
yes.
So.
It's not made for in atmosphere fighting at all, but that's
Mm-hmm.
why I say get it out of the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
It's perfect, I think, for escorting the big haul E's,
Yeah.
especially since they've grown and gotten bigger.
Mm-hmm.
They will need protection. This is a good protection for them. Also, the Orion, it's immobile, basically sitting there mining. It's a
Right.
target too. And if you had this thing in the vicinity, it makes a lot of people think 3 and 4 times before they're coming near that Orion.
Yes, indeed.
How
Very
did the
true.
developer state it when he was telling us about it? You don't even want to see this coming at you.
Nope.
Oh, that's very true. That's very true. Well, thanks, Archie. Those are great. Thanks. The Anvil Hawk and the Aegis Hammerhead. Those are great coverages. And Archie, I got to ask the question: did you buy one?
Yes, indeed. I added one for my fleet, and you can still buy them. By the way, they're still available this weekend. Let's see.
Yeah, they're going for what, $650? I think
Yeah,
$650.
650, and wall bond is 550.
Yep.
And
And
if you have a discount coupon, you can add it to that.
well, all I gotta say is, Archie, there's one more thing that you need to do, and that's start an employment company, because you're going to be hiring a lot of people to cover your fleet.
Yes, I'm going to. I have that in my plans. I'm going to hire an employment agency.
Ah, okay. People submit their applications now, guys.
Yes.
Because Archie's got a fleet. If you don't have a ship or some of these ships you're interested in, get in touch with Archie Falcon, because he'll be able to hook you up, believe me.
And I'm going to pay very good salary.
Oh, well, maybe I'll sign up then. Okay, great. Well, listen, we're going to move on, guys. The next subject we want to talk about is something that we keep hearing these comments, and I know, Cosmic, you said this earlier about when Lando was doing his piece today. You talked about the fact of the pipeline. And we keep hearing these phrases about white box and gray box and concept. So Cosmic's going to kind of give us a quick Pipeline 101 class real quick on some of the subjects, because we're not going to cover them all. There's 13 of them. But Cosmic, take it away. Give us some info on what this whole gray box, white box stuff is.
Well, most of the people probably understand a lot of it, but it took me a long time to get this in my head about the white box, gray box business. There was kind of like a fine line between them. But we all know what concept is. That's the design process where, you give at least 6 designs, by the way, to Chris Roberts. He always insists on at least 6 designs. You make up these designs, concept drawings, and then he picks one, or he'll pick 1, 2, and 3, and he'll say, I want this part of this part of that, put them together, give me another drawing, until he's satisfied with the basic concept. Then he gives them the go. From that point on, it goes into what's called white boxing. And in white boxing, that's just the block diagram, so to speak. That's the original Lego set. They go out, and you saw this recently. All they're doing is sizing the rooms to make them fit, or to make the chair fit here, or a table here, or a window there, the hallways, the corridors, the stairways. Will they fit? How does it fit together? That's when they start to see that the size of the ship might be too big, too little. It needs to be a little change here, a little change there, just like they redesigned the corridors in the Javelin recently. That's white boxing. And till you get that where the designers, everybody's happy with that everything fits in, it fits in well, it goes together. This is where you want the toilets, this is where you want the kitchen, this is where you want the engine room, and all of that. When white boxing is done, then the basic ship design is done. And then it goes into what's called gray boxing. Okay, the ship interiors laid out, the layout is done. Now they add the colors, the textures. They actually put the material in there. They put in all the assets at that point, and then they start to finalize it up that way. Once it gets near completion of the gray box, or very close to that, then the art team comes in and they start to, do their thing. whatever, with some animations. The art team, the animations all come hand in hand, and they come in there and work together, get all that working so it really looks good for us, and fancy it up. At the same time, they're doing the damage states that we're all familiar with. They also do audio, lighting effects, and whatever has to happen to these things. And they make changes as time goes on. Even after it's out there to us. They recently made some lighting changes in the PTU to some of our ships, and things like that. But so the white box is nothing more than just a basic uh, block. You're just getting the layout done. And then everything else comes in. And that's where a lot of the time comes in, the gray box. That's time consuming. The bigger the ship, the longer that takes. Because there's a lot of stuff you got to go in there and you got to add the textures, the colors, you got to get it right. And Chris Roberts, of course, has to sign off on all this stuff. And sometimes he may change his mind, like he did on the Constellation once. He wanted the interior redone in the color style or the scheme or the doors or whatever it is. So the gray box is where it takes the most time in most of these ships, along with the art and the animation and things. So that's the basics of it all. And then back in the day, a year and a half ago, about a year ago, they used to give us our ship's hangar ready. And then after that, it would, they would still be working on stuff. And then after that, we would get it flight ready. Well, they stopped all that now. Now, because the process is so much faster these days than it was then. Okay. You saw that recently on one of the Around the Verses. What used to take them 2 or 3 months, they can now do in a couple weeks with all the tools they have. So now we get a ship when it's flight ready. So it's flight and hangar ready all at the same time now to us. It used to be in the hangar so we could look at it and then feed them back stuff, and then the art team could work on it, the animation could work on it, but they don't need that anymore. They can get that all done at once in the gray box phase now. So that's a basic of it all. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask. Or if I've made a mistake, let me know.
It comes white and then gray.
Yes.
There's 2 steps.
Yep. And I think that thanks, Cosmic. Those are really good because we always hear those phrases, I think, more than we hear a lot of the other states. And I think that sometimes when the next step comes up, they hear final art. People think, oh, they're almost done. But actually, if you look on the list, final art is actually number 5. There's still a lot more steps that have to be done. Once the ship has been formed up, it gets sent off for final art, which is basically where they are doing the paint jobs and how the ship is going to look internally and externally. Then they have to do the mechanics of the animation.
The doors, the hangar,
how they're going to operate, how they work, will they, move a certain way? If there's any problems with clipping, they have to get into the LODs are next, which is oh god, it just flew out of my head. The term level of detail. Thank you, the level of detail, and so. There's all these processes that have to take place, and so sometimes we think that they could just churn these things out. Sometimes things don't work, and they have to get sent back for someone else to work on something because once it got to animations, there was a problem, and it needs to be redesigned. In fact, they talk about that a little bit when they talk about the Cutlass, how they made some changes in the ship. Well, actually, they talk about that about a lot of the ships that they've done, where things have to be redone again. We're gonna say, Arch?
You see, Lando. He showed the process. It's assembly line.
Yeah.
Like Ford.
Yep. Exactly. So there's a lot involved in putting these ships together. But yeah, that's basically it, guys. So it gives you a better idea of what this whole gray box and white box thing is about in the process of putting these ships together. I'm going to move on to my section. Thanks, Cosmic. And my section is going to be really quick and easy and fast. At least I hope it will be. I'm going to be talking to you guys about the ships that were released in 3.0. Now, some people still don't have access to 3.0. It's coming, folks. It's coming. Trust me. And I understand why when I hear people say that, when it's at these different stages, people want it, but they don't realize how buggy it is. When Eva Cotty got the game, it was publicly announced that they had only give them certain segments of the game. They didn't have all of 3.0 in the very beginning. They wanted them to focus on certain things in the very beginning, and as they started to get over those hurdles, they added more things for them to deal with. And so when the game was released just before Thanksgiving to the concierge and subscribers, one of the big hurdles that was going to happen was that you had thousands more people getting on the servers and getting into instances. And so what was running fairly smooth for Evocati, at least better than it was when they first got it, all of a sudden went back to running funky again because you have thousands more people using the servers, using the instances, and more things were added into the game. And they've been continually adding things. And so there's a lot of frustration for people. People were very excited. They jumped online. They started playing. There were crashes. There were bugs. There was clipping. Right, guys? I mean, there's all types of stuff still not right in 3.0, right?
Correct, yeah.
A lot of stuff, right? Cosmic,
it's a major upgrade, you know.
Yeah, Cosmic, tell them what happened the other day. You and I were talking, and you were getting to make a great landing on this particular moon, and something happened. Remember? You were hovering and getting ready to land?
Yeah. You guys are all aware of this Moby-Glass thing they have. And what I was trying to do was I was trying to go out and test something, because that's what PTU is, test things. There was a bug where, well, there was, I don't know if it's still there or not. I couldn't test it. I went out, and you would get to, say, this remote outpost, and they had 2 landing pads. And in order not to become a criminal, in order to be able to land there and then have him say, okay, and you can do your stuff, you have to request the ATV guy to give you permission to land. And you do that through your Moby-Glass or through your MFD. And I should have used my MFD, but I didn't, my multifunction display. But I got lazy and I called up the Moby-Glass. Now I get out there, I get down, I'm within less than 100 meters of the 2 landing pads, and I want to ask him permission to see if he lights it up green with that white vertical line, because that was the bug. He was not doing that. And you had a 50-50 chance of landing on the wrong pad. And just as I called up the Moby-Glass, that was it. Screen freeze. It would not go away. And the only way out of that is the task manager close it down.
Yep.
So, yeah, I still got to go out. Next time I'll use the multifunction display and try that. Which is what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
So it was my fault. Okay, I admit it.
Now,
I'm
for
supposed
Cosmic,
to be using the multifunction displays now and not being lazy and using the Moby-Glass.
but okay, I think we could use both ways, but
Well, you can, but they want us to get more used to the multifunction.
oh, the purpose of this
Yeah.
test was to use
Yeah.
the multifunction
That's
display.
correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And there have been all types of things from bugs like that have happened to people not. And I remember Cosmic. I remember you telling us this on one of the shows in the past about the importance of fuel and fuel consumption. There have been plenty of people who have been trying to land on a moon and run out of fuel in the process, not realizing the fact that they have to be paying attention to all of those different factors when they're flying, where before you just flew and it was no big deal. Now we've got people dropping out of the sky before they can land.
And the good part is that they're working on this every day, constantly. They do read everybody's feedback. So if you're in PTU and you're giving them feedback, they're reading it.
Yeah.
Okay. They're paying real close attention to everybody's suggestions and benefits and whatever. The fuel right now lasts longer. Your ship uses less fuel than it did before. They're making adjustments daily on all this stuff. A good way to save fuel, if you're not in atmosphere, if you're in space, is to go to your maximum afterburner speed, and there's no longer an AB1 and 2, and they now
And
call
decouple.
it afterburner cruise. They got that nice word cruise back everybody likes. You go to that and then immediately decouple your ship, and you'll continue at the same speed in a straight line, and you won't use any fuel. So you can go a long way that way.
Absolutely.
Without using any fuel at all.
Yeah.
And then
But you have to
decouple
make
back
sure
and do what you got to do.
Yeah, you have to make sure that you don't touch the atmosphere, because
Right.
as soon as you touch the atmosphere, you drop like a rock.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, if you're in atmosphere flying, the afterburner will tend to eat your fuel up real quick.
And I think that's what most people were doing. They were doing atmospheric flight, trying to reach a certain base or outpost, not realizing that it's better to do it in space. Your fuel consumption is minimized until you get very, very close over your destination, then start bringing yourself down.
Well,
So-
look at the space shuttle.
Yeah.
Here's a good example. The space shuttle does not start coming down over Russia and then work its way to Florida, okay? It waits until it gets over America and then it starts its descent down. So stay out of the atmosphere, stay up in space, cruise to an outer marker or go to fast speed, get yourself over the target that you want, whatever outpost it is, or wherever it is you want to go. Get over that, and then you can start your ship down.
Right.
Okay.
Good point.
Now, don't do like all of us have done. Don't head straight for the thing, because if you do that, your ships don't decelerate as fast as they used to. You will hit the moon, I guarantee it.
I'm sure we've all bounced.
So do not point the front of your ship directly at the outpost. Paint it about 20 kilometers away, and as you get close, pull the nose of your ship up. Okay, guys?
Yeah.
How many times have we bounced, Archie?
Yes,
Oh
good
my
point.
God.
Yeah, we've all bounced. Good point. Good point. All right, so let
In
me.
fact, glorious leader Montoya bounced his first.
Oh, we're following in his footsteps then. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Show you something, Griffin?
Yeah, go ahead, Arch. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, great. You giving it away?
No.
Well, don't show it unless you're giving it away. You get people get anxious. They're like giving it away.
No,
All right.
they're going inside my computer this
Okay,
afternoon.
gotcha. All right, guys. So listen, I'm going to get on these ships. As you guys can see, we're looking at the Yellow Jacket right now. The Yellow Jacket was one of the new ships that was released in 3.0. A lot of people seem to like it. It seems to be very stable, a lot of fun to ride. I haven't ridden one yet, but did take some pictures in the hangar. I think Archie and Cosmic, you both have driven a Yellow Jacket, right?
Yes, the yellow and the black.
Okay. The next one is the Nox. The Nox, you guys know, is a racer. It's actually intended a little bit more as a racer bike than the Yellow Jacket is, where the Yellow Jacket's kind of designed more for exploration and can hold two people. So can the Dragonfly, the black one, I'm sorry. But the Nox is a racer. It's got weapons on the front of it and very fast. But I hear it's not very stable on rough ground. Is that right, guys?
Well, it's got some problems and bugs they're working on.
Yeah.
It is stable to a point, but one of the bugs now is if you go up a slope fast enough, or up a slopey rock, let's say, fast enough, because it's a hovercraft and it's going fast, it has a tendency to launch itself about 20,000 feet above the earth and fly around like a ship. It ain't supposed to be doing this, you see.
Okay.
But hey, for the time being, enjoy the bug.
Okay, gotcha. All right, the next one is the pink version of the Dragonfly, which we all went out and bought. Archie, you don't own any pink ones, do you? Do you own the pink one?
I didn't know they had pink ones.
Well, it's like a little Hello Kitty thing. I don't know what that little cat thing is on there, but they did put this in for us for testing, and I don't know if anybody's been riding around on it, but hey,
Girls, no?
yeah, I don't know. If there are guys who can like pink, that's okay. It's not a thing. It's just whatever people like, I guess. But it does give us an example of the fact that you can have different colors on these ships, which is great. Which is really, really cool.
I think it'd be great for piracy, because who would suspect you were a bad guy?
Oh, you never expect that, right? Never. All right, and the next ship is the Prospector. This is a ship that a lot of people have been looking forward to. The Prospector is the one-man mining ship. Versus the Orion, which has a whole team of people working on it. Those shots right there of the side containers, those are the containers that your materials go in. There are 2 on each side that are detachable from the ship that can be hauled away and taken someplace while you're mining and put new containers on it.
Once they fill up, they detach.
Yep, and so there are 4 of them. This is made by Misk as well, and a lot of people have bought this because they see this as a way of being able to make money in game as independently. They don't have to be dependent upon anybody else. They can go out to a moon or an asteroid and do some work. And then lastly, the rework of the Cutlass Black. This was a ship that a lot of people purchased early in the game. Folks weren't very happy with it. They didn't like the design. They didn't like the flight mechanics of it. So CIG brought this ship back. They did a complete rework on it, and people seem to be thrilled with it. They're very excited about it. Even though it was originally mentioned as being more of a pirate ship, it's actually become more of a multi-purpose ship. One of the things that people really seem to like, where before there was just a rear hatch, which you see right now, and there was a door for the pilot entry, they've now added 2 side doors. And a lot of people like those side doors on the side of the ship, especially when they think about maybe bringing some Marines with them. If they're going to attack a certain location, they can jump right out of those side doors, and the ship could almost act as a drop ship. And in the very front, I'm sorry, go ahead, Archie.
The side doors are designed for outer space. How to get in the ship is through the back when it's landed.
Right. And on the side there, and we just missed it, I'm sorry, but on the side, they've added tractor beams in the front on the left and right winglets. So that's something to take a look for, guys, if you haven't paid attention to it. And then finally, the last ship here is the Constellation Aquila. Again, another anticipated ship. We saw this last year at CitizenCon, and it's finally been released to us. This is the exploration variant of the Constellation series. Very, very nice ship. Very buggy from what I understand too, but people are excited about having this ship finally in the game. They haven't added the exploration equipment into the ship, such as the scanning arrays and things like that as of yet, but it is in the game now. So guys, out of all these different ships I just covered, which one so far do you like that's come out? Archie, I'll start with you.
I like my Aquila.
The Aquila?
Yes.
Okay, and of course I know you own one. Do you own one or more than one?
No, just one.
Just one. Just one. Okay. Cosmic, how about you? Out of all the ships we covered, is there any particular one you like?
I like them all, but
Okay.
I got to tell you that right now, the one that I find the most enjoyable to fly is the Cutlass Black. Okay. The Dragonfly is nice flying. I really like the Dragonfly. The Constellation, yes, I love all the Constellations. They fly well. They're good ships. They got some problems, but that Cutlass Black is just a dream to fly. I fly it every chance I get. I really, really, really like the rework. Now, the Prospector comes in second, because it's a great ship. They've done a wonderful job with it. The interior looks good, and it flies well too. Considering when you get in the atmosphere, you got to take it slow and easy, because it's a big heavy thing and it ain't got wings. But the Prospector, people who own that are going to be very happy with it. But the Cutlass Black, it's my second favorite ship to fly. I love flying the Sabre, and I love flying the Cutlass Black. They fly real well.
Oh, that's great. Death's asking a question here, and his question is in relation to the cargo capacity on the Hull B, which is 384 SCU, and he compares it to the Orion, which, the Orion is a huge ship, and it has basically the same amount of capacity. He's asking, how is that? The reason why, Death, is because the Orion is not a cargo ship. The number that you're looking for of cargo is what it can carry in cargo, but its capacity in mining ores is over 16,000. So it's a much bigger capacity in relation to mining ores. And the cargo area is just a small cargo area for it to carry whatever it needs to carry. There are drones on the ship. There may be some other type of equipment, parts, right, that are needed. And so that's the reason why.
Spare parts,
Yep.
that type of thing, just basic cargo.
And again, it is not a cargo ship. So the Hull B is a dedicated cargo ship, and that's why its emphasis is there with that size. But basically, to answer your question, it's because the Orion holds over 16,000 in raw materials. So hopefully that answers your question.
It'll be the same with the big Reclaimer as well. It has cargo room, but it's limited as well for the same reason.
Yep. And this lends itself back to what I was saying earlier, that ships are also designed to do specific jobs. I know there's a tendency for us to want to have a ship that kind of has the best of everything, but again, the ships all have some type of deficit to them for a purpose. If I'm out there with my Orion, sure, it would be great to have a great cargo area where I could have all these other things inside of it, but that also gets me back into playing by myself. If I need cargo, I need to be able to call up Archie and say, Archie, I need you to bring your whole C out here, your whole B, because I got some stuff that needs to be traded back. It forces me to have gameplay with my friends and other people in the game. So, again, I think that's something that Chris and them are thinking about when they're designing the game. Okay, so
I have the ships, but then I'll need a pilot and a couple of more people too.
At least, right? Okay, well, listen, we are going to go to our next segment, and this is the part where we're going to need you guys to chime in, so get ready to type some questions to us. Make sure you type the word question in big letters, but we're going to be covering this subject of the high stakes of staking your claim. But we're going to do a commercial. Check out this commercial, and we'll come right back. We'll be right back, guys.
Last, it's official. Thanks to the generous help of the United States government, we are about to be involved in the greatest real estate swindle of all time.
Lex, what is this obsession with real estate? All the time, land, land, land.
Miss Teschmacher, when I was 6 years old, my father said to me,
Get out.
before that, he said, son, stocks may rise and fall. Utilities and transportation systems may collapse. People are no damn good, but they will always need land, and they'll pay through the nose to get it. Remember, my father said, land.
Land, right. So, listen, there was something else that went on sale this week that we didn't expect, and that was plots of land. For people who bought a Pioneer, which is one of the new concept ships that's going to be a base builder in the game, if you bought a Pioneer, you also were given a land claim where you can have up to 8K square of land to build your base. And Archie, got to ask the question, do you own a Pioneer?
Yes, I do. I have one Pioneer, and it came with an 8x8 kilometer land beacon.
Okay, all right. And so if you got a Pioneer, that was included in your price for that, your purchase price. And that was like, okay, we get it. But then they announced that the UEE was going to be selling land grants or claims that you could use. They're basically these 4x4 areas that you could get, 4K by 4K. You can also get an 8K by 8K if you want. They call the 4K a land plot, and the 8K an estate, much bigger. And so basically, we'll talk about this a little bit. The game mechanic for it is that you're given a game beacon, which you see on the screen. You basically go out and find the area that you want to claim. You stick this beacon into the ground. There is a microchip in this beacon that records the data for your location, I guess like a GPS would. And then you have to take this chip back to, what's it called, Cosmic? What's the area called?
The Land Development Bureau.
The Land Development Bureau, wherever they may be in the system. Wherever they may be in the system. And you're going to take it there like you would go to a recorder of deeds. You take it in, turn it in, and then that land will be registered under you. Now, you might be... Go ahead, Cosmic.
They will be at any city and any space station.
Okay.
But
Now,
you first come, first serve.
We'll come to that in a second. So you may be asking, what is the benefit of doing this? If you're in UEE space and you have claimed the land and registered it, it is also under protection in that area. So the land is officially yours. So if other people proceed to take that land or use that land, you have a legal right and protection to that land through the UEE. Now, if you go out into the wildlands, the outer rim, outside of UEE space, now we're talking a whole different story. Oh, entirely different story.
Yes.
Okay. So let's toss this out, guys, because I want to address the question too, and you guys can be thinking about this while we're here. And here's the question: is this a money grab? Some people say it's a money grab. Other people say, what do you? If people pay for this, then they get first shot at getting land, and other people don't. And by the way, let's talk about one other factor, and I'm gonna open this up. In order to get a plot, which is a 4K square, 4K by 4K square, those cost $50 in cash if you want to buy it in cash. If you want to get the 8K, then you pay $100 in cash. But you don't have to pay any cash at all. You can just play through the game, earn credits in the game, and you can use game credits to buy the land. So there is no mandatory. You do not have to open your wallet to get these. You can play the game and earn them. And people who pay for them up front do not have an advantage. There is no advantage to them being able to do that. So I want to make that clear from the very beginning. So I'm going to put this out there. I already see we got a question popping up, but you guys can go ahead and address that if you want to. Cosmic and Archie, feel free.
Okay, I'll start. Is it a cash grab? Of course it is. They even said it was. You know, the whole purpose of doing it was to help development of the game. Now, have they done this sort of thing before? Of course they have. If you recall, if you spend enough money, you get this penthouse suite thing that the rest of us don't have. Okay, you spent enough money, you did it early on, you were rewarded with a penthouse. You know, a nice little aquarium and bar and stuff. So this has been going on for years. They do this type of thing. Those of you who have the money, those of you who want to spend the money, they would like to have it for development. And if you're willing to help them with the development, then you get a perk. Now, does that benefit you in game? In my opinion, absolutely not. Simply because you got no idea where you want to put the silly thing anyway. So until the game launches with 100 systems, thousands of moons, whatever, none of us have any idea where the minerals are, where the stuff is. What this is for, in my opinion, is equivalent to that penthouse suite. Okay? If you want to plunk a little area down up on a mountain and overlook Terra Prime or overlook Shanghai or whatever it is, or Goss or something, then okay. You know, it's your little outdoor penthouse, so to speak. But you got no idea in the world where you're going to go mining or where you're going to stake a claim for your org or for your friends. You don't know what's going to be out there yet. None of us will. But it's for those type of people that say, yeah, I like the view. I really like the view over Terra Prime. I'm going to plunk it up here. You go ahead and buy it now. Okay, have fun. Enjoy your view. While you're looking at Terra Prime day after day, I'll be out playing the game. So, you know, does it benefit you? Nah, not at all. Thank you for helping with the development.
Absolutely. Archie, what are you planning on doing with your land? Are you you got any plans for it, or are you just going to wait and see?
Well, you know, I'm a surveyor at heart. I used to work as a survey technician. My plans is to wait. I'm going to wait to see what's going to happen. And then I'm going to explore. And when I find something real good, I'll plant my beacon and I claim that land.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think that, Cosmic, your point about the land, and I'm going to hit a couple questions here that have popped up. One of them was Indian Feather asking, are there any taxes? Have they spoken about that? I have not heard anything about it. Have you guys heard anything about any fees that the UEE will charge you for that? Yes. I'm sure that to register it, I'm sure, but I mean, after that, will there be any type of taxes?
No. When you register it, you have to pay a fee, and they don't know what that is, so they're not going to tell us because they haven't figured it out. However, while you're on that subject, that's a very good topic, Griffin. We forgot this. If, even in game, you find a place, minerals or whatever, but you're not sure you want to be there for the next 10 or 20 years, you will be able to lease that land.
Yeah, lease it, rent it out.
You go to the land development office and say, you see that little plot there? I want to lease it for the next 6 months. They will lease it to you. It's just like renting an apartment in real life. You can do that if you want.
Well, you can
eventually you make enough money to buy it. Yeah.
You can lease out your property as well.
Yeah, if you are the owner, if you're the owner, you can also lease your land out to other people.
There's been no mention of future taxes at this point. Now, whether they'll do it or not, we don't know, but they might.
Right.
You never know.
McQuitty asks a question here. It says, will they slow down the land claims and keep land available longer? One of the things, we kind of had this conversation about the availability of land. And for anybody who's been in the game and has landed on any moon, doesn't make a difference where you've landed, you'll understand that there is land on top of land on top of land on top of land, and that's only with 3 moons right now, guys. You couldn't cover one of these moons right now with all the players, let alone 3, let alone 20, let alone 100 moons in this game. So it's not like the land's going to disappear.
a good example, Daymar, one of the moons you're talking about, is 340 kilometers in diameter.
Mm-hmm.
That's in the
a lot of
center.
land.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're talking a lot of land. So I guess what we want to do is alleviate anybody's fears who wonders whether or not, oh, by the time I get in the game or by the time I earn credits, will all the land be gone? It will, it will nowhere near be gone. And because the game is going to expand over time, more planets, each planet having more moons, more systems, we are guaranteed. In fact, I think Archie's suggestion is a really good one. I don't think I would want to put my land down at the very beginning of the game because I know other planets and other systems are going to be coming, and I don't want to put my land down today, and then a year and a half from now it's overpopulated because everybody jumped on that one because it was the first of the moons that were in the game. I'd rather wait, watch the game expand, and then find a place where I want to be either isolated or somewhat isolated or in a moderate population versus jumping on the first thing that's there. So at least that's in my opinion.
Sauce has two really good questions. The first one is asking all three of us, plots of lands with resources, beautiful views, or strategically located base near a trade route or station, which one's more valuable to us? Okay, that's the first question. To me, I'm not too interested in the beautiful view. Okay. Strategically located near a base or trade, I don't see a great deal of profit from that as a trader because the trade station's there. So, yeah, I would have to say places with resources or a place for you to go relax with your friends or have an org base. Those are the strategic values to me. The second question is, could you purchase an asteroid? Well, if it's a big asteroid, you could purchase a plot on it. And if there's a bunch of small ones that fit inside, say, an 8 square kilometer area, you stake out that area, and all those little asteroids are within your area, so they're yours.
Absolutely.
To do with as you please.
Now, contrary to Cosmic the Trader, Griffin the Luxury 600i Flyer is going to look for a place with a view. I would like to find a place that I can go to that's isolated, that is almost oasis kind of place, that's, got a nice view, that people probably wouldn't even think about going to, that's not surrounded by a lot of people, where I can have like a little homestead, and that would be cool. Now, don't get me wrong. More than likely, I'd also have another claim at another location where resources would be important to me, because obviously I've got to be able to fund that little resort that I want to build. So I'm going to need to be someplace where I have access to traders and also access to resources for mining with something like a prospector, or by setting up my own mining stations in that plotted land. So for me, it would be a combination of both. And I think Cosmic's point on strategy may be more leaning toward organizations. You guys know we're part of Test Squadron. Test has over 15,000? I don't know. We have a lot of members. And Test may end up deciding to say, and we talked about this, Cosmic and Archie talked about the fact that maybe Test will set up a community where its players are on some particular moon or base, and we've got our own base that's multiple plots of land, and we've got some people who own land. Maybe the org owns the land, and people can lease and rent those land spaces as they need them, so that we have a big area. But of course, we would need to be able to defend it and protect it. So that may be more on a strategic level when it comes to an organization. Archie's already talked about his. Go ahead, Archie. What are you going to say?
Even with the test numbers, it won't have enough players to take over a whole moon.
Oh no,
That's
not by any means.
Land a moon has.
Yeah, not by any means. Yeah, if all 15,000 of our members decided to squat some land, I'm not sure we could. Yeah, I don't think we could.
Chris Roberts said on the 1ATV that if right now there's like 1.2 million backers, if every one of them had an 8 kilometer square plot and they put them side by side on planet Earth in the game, it wouldn't fill up half the land.
Well, that answers that then.
There's lots of places to put these plots, people. Lots of places.
Yeah. Death, thanks. 15,000 plus. Thanks for that correction on the number. Yeah.
The Indian Feather put something interesting here.
Okay, I missed
clarify that, Indian Feather. You said 10 max per account. Is that 10 max of these land plots or 10 max of the 8K, 10 max total? That's the first I heard of that. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see it. Yeah. So you could have an 8 by
80 by
Death. That's
80?
pretty big, Death.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty big and a lot of money. But yeah, there you go. So
I saw on Reddit the other day somebody did a comparison, and if you have an 8K plot, you can fit 95% of the island of Manhattan and both rivers in it.
wow,
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty
I
crazy.
So
saw
it's
that.
big, okay? There's lots of room.
Yeah, that's pretty big. Well, guys, here again, know that the sale is still going on. I think the sale goes to when, Cosmic. How long is the sale?
Monday.
Is it Monday? Okay, I know it's
Yeah,
at
the
2 days
sale,
past, right?
they usually end Sunday night, they
Sunday
say,
night.
but it usually it ends like Monday morning,
Right.
basically, when SIG opens up. But the concept sales will be on sale for another week.
There we go. Okay, so if you guys want to get your land and get your land claim, this is the time to do it. $50 for 4K, $100 for the 8K. Again, if you're doing it, seriously, do it to support the game. Don't get caught up in the hype of, oh, I got to get my land, blah, 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 blah. Do it because you want to support the game. Anytime you do anything with this, whether it's purchasing a concept ship, the land, a vehicle, whatever it is, keep in mind it's about supporting the game. It's very easy to get caught up in what we see and get caught up in the excitement of what we call the hype train. But
Okay, Griffin.
we want to
I'm ready
support
for
the
your
game.
question.
Oh, God. Which question
Don't
is
you
this?
people and don't you people believe that silly old cosmic trader when he tries to sell you trees and shrubs?
Yeah. All right, Archie, how much land did you buy?
I knew that. I knew the question was coming.
Yep, how much?
Well, I have one with my ship already. With
Right.
The 8x8, so I bought an extra 8x8, so I have two 8x8s.
Okay.
And I also purchased four 4x4s.
Oh, boy. Jeez, oh, Pete. You're going to have an employment agency, land agency.
Yes.
You're going to, yeah, okay. Obviously, guys, Archie is a big supporter of Star Citizen, and we know you guys are too. Listen, we're going to get ready to wrap up, but we really appreciate everybody who stopped by today. Thanks again for all the questions and things that you guys suggested for us. Again, hopefully 3.0 will be out publicly completely within the next couple weeks, so just be patient. Hopefully, just like they gave it to us for Thanksgiving, you guys who don't have it will get it for Christmas. And I'm pretty sure they're really working hard, and Cosmic will tell you these people are really working hard. The devs are keeping in touch with us. They are listening to us, and we've seen improvements. Just within the last week, we've seen improvements already in Star Citizen 3.0. So, Archie,
I've heard that all these backers have been really, really, really good boys and girls this year. So there's a real good chance.
Yeah, I think so too. Archie, Cosmic, you guys got anything else before we wrap up?
Well, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks a lot for joining us here.
Mm-hmm.
Spread the word. Tell your friends about it if you enjoy the show, if you enjoy us sitting here, nattering on. But we also appreciate you being part of this in the chat over here. We try our best to answer your questions, talk to you, and do whatever. That's what this is all about.
Mm-hmm.
It's a show not for us, it's a show for you.
Yep,
Okay?
absolutely.
It's your show, the test zone.
Cosmic, Red has a quick question, and Cosmic, you're the authority on the Taurus. He says, do you know what the cargo space is on the Taurus after the rework?
In numbers, Red, the answer is no, but I can tell you the purpose of the rework is a lot of the ships like the Constellations were designed back when they had that cargo unit, small box, big box stuff. Well, those no longer exist. And when they advertise things like the Taurus at 384 cargo units, they want to make sure that we still can have the same amount of cargo after the rework. But the difference is the cargo container is bigger. Therefore, the ships get bigger. Okay, so the answer would be it will hold the same amount of cargo as it did in the original when you bought it. It's just that the number will change because it'll reflect the cargo unit that the stuff goes in. But you'll be able to carry the same amount of cargo as always. It's not going to lose cargo at all.
Yeah.
Okay?
All right.
No, I own a Taurus, and I love that thing.
Yeah.
And Debris Field and Indian Feather, thanks for that information. And what they said is that they went to the RSI site. They tried to see how many pieces of land they could buy, and it maxed them out at 10. So they're probably doing that to make sure that people don't, what people will do.
My guess is a combination of 4, 8, 10 max per person.
Right, and that's it. Because otherwise, you guys know, people will try to buy up all the land and try to do some crazy stuff. And I think they're probably factoring that if you're an org, you would be someone who would want 10 plots of land or estate lands, but
Also,
they want to
think
limit
about
people
this.
taking the lands and monopolizing
If you
it.
got 1 million people and everybody bought 500 of them or 1,000 of them and started plunking them all over the verse, that's really going to eat up your frame rate.
Yeah, I mean, that's another factor, but I think I'm more concerned about people who will try to monopolize, and dominate in the game by having all the land. So, and you're absolutely right, Cosmic, not to mention with the technical dynamics of how that would impact the game too. So,
yeah, it's like, you go out to Terra Prime or Earth, somebody would go there, find a prime spot, and just plunk about 500 of them down next to each other. So
absolutely.
pick up all the land. Yeah,
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I can see a limit set on these things.
All right, guys, well, we're going to sign off. Thanks again for stopping by for the test zone. To my buddy Archie, to Cosmic, who's out there in space. Thanks, guys, for helping us out today, and we look forward to seeing you guys January.
One last thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I just remembered this. One of our testies, a very nice young lady, and I won't give you the name right now, but I will tell you she found a wonderful use of an 8x8 plot of land. She's going to find a very nice place with a forest that's got wildlife in it, and she's going to plunk down an 8x8 plot of land for a nature reserve.
Yeah.
You dare shoot those deer.
No shooting deer.
Or whatever's running around.
Plots of land for anything. I think that's a good use of one.
It'll be interesting to see how it turns out. All right, guys, we're rolling. Peace. We'll see you guys in the verse. Thanks again for stopping by, and you guys have a great weekend. Ciao.
Ciao.
Good night.